All right, welcome back, Sebring. The channel has been a little inactive. It's been holiday hours, but back to normal now. I went into the schedule, clicked on test drive for Sebring. I did not read the fine print. This is Sebring Club. This is a short configuration. A lot of tracks out there, Road Atlanta, Silverstone, Brands Hatch, they've got their short configurations. They're basically the same track. It's just some corners are missing and one or two new ones. This track, however, setup is very different. This club setup is really causing sparks to fly out of my brain. Um, so if I know a lot of you out there are very experienced with Sebring, if you've never driven this configuration, be prepared. It's going to take some practice. This track has quite a different feel in this short configuration. And subsequently, there is a big difference in the setup too as well. So if you've used my setup before, if you've got your own setup, you are going to have to make some changes for this. It is quite different. So I will post this setup. Adam Miles has been running the Ray forum. I think he's been on holiday hours as well. I will post this if the forum is back up as quick as I can. Otherwise, get out your camera or your pen and paper and we'll go through this setup. So ride height 30 mils. This is a bumpy track. Some of the bumpier sections aren't in here, but it is still a bumpy track and there are a few curbs to go over, and the curbs here for the most part do not play nice. So the ride height is up a little bit. ARB is 0. This is a very tight configuration. This is a very busy lap. Understeer, no good. Damper compression 20 clicks. Now, if you're not familiar with Sebring, there's no hills to Sebring, but a number of the corners have a downhill slope to them. So the damper compression is 20 for this setup, but you certainly could make an argument to increase that a little bit because the back end does get pretty light through some of these corners. Brake bias, individual thing. I started at 56%, but I was locking them up way too easy, so I increased that to 57.5 for me. For you, it's something different, but if you're locking them up pretty easy, just try increasing that brake bias. And here is something very different. Spring rates, not as low as they go. This is one click above the minimum, 26 Newton meters. I'm not sure what that is in imperial, but it's one click above the minimum. Um, Camber, you know my channel, not symmetrical. 2.6 on the left side is doing most of the work. 2.4 on the right. Go with the 2.6 if you want to keep them symmetrical. Toe in 1.5. Lots of braking on this track, and getting some heat into the tires as well. It's a very short lap. It does take a little time to get those tires up to temp. So 1.5 for toe in, and spring rates again, one bump up from minimum, 44 Newton meters. So they're they're equally up one notch, the spring rates, front and rear. So that's not adding any real oversteer or understeer. However, it does stiffen the suspension up a bit because you do have to rotate the car around this track. Lots of tight corner, all the tight corners of Sebring are here. So that is why. Camber 1.5 each side. Yeah, those rears are doing a lot of work, and that is just to try and get as much grip as you can. Toe in 0.5. It is turned up again, once again, getting the tire temps up and helping with the braking because there is a lot of hard braking. Ride height 46. That is quite a bit higher than the front. That is to give the car a little bit more oversteer because you'll see ARB is 15. It's not cranked up, but the rear is excuse me, the rear is turned up just to add a little bit of oversteer. So it's kind of like a ARB of 17 millimeters. Um, and again, helping going over some of those curbs and such. Damper compression 4 clicks. It is softened up on the rear. When you're exiting a number of these corners, it is very easy to spin up the rear. So this is just to help transfer some weight back to the rear, so you get a little bit more grip as you are applying the throttle. 14 liters, that is going to get you to the end for sure. 13 liters, I don't know if that's going to do it, so you'll have to watch out for that. And gear stack is standard. That is different from the regular Sebring configuration. The real big stretches of straight are not on this version, so standard stack is where it's at. So track is 22. It's going to be a cooler week. Usage is 35% as usual. We'll run this out in slow-mo and then go at full speed. So coming into turn 1, you can see we're getting close to the rev limit. We're looking for the 3 cone here, getting on the brakes, shifting down into second, very hard on the brakes. This is a late apex. You have to be releasing the brakes as you get into this corner. As you can see, for a number of these corners, there is a bit of a downhill slope here, so the back end is going to get light. So you can see I came in there just a little hot. Right up close to this curb, you don't really want to get onto this curb. It is pretty disruptive. Picking up the throttle nice and early. Don't just stomp on it. You can graze the sand here, but if you put a tire into it, you do get an X, so watch out for that. And cutting this corner, again, don't get your tire into the sand, you'll get an X, but get it on top of the curb here. It does save you probably about 500ths, 800ths. So it does make a little difference, not a huge difference, but a big difference. And then running the car out wide here, just minimizing the wheel input, and then setting yourself up for the next one. You're looking for the 2 cone. We're leaving it in third. If you are drafting behind a car, you might want to be shifting up into fourth, but leaving it in third uh, if everything's just normal. Looking for the 2 cone here, hard on the brakes, again down into second gear, releasing the brakes as you turn in. Again, it's the same sort of situation for almost all of these corners. There is a downhill slope here, so that back end you got to watch out. And again, up against the curb but not really on it. Picking up the throttle nice and easy on exits. You do not want to put a tire in the sand here, but use all of that curb. This one, no great brake markers except for this repair patch here at the end of the repair patch. Getting on the brakes, pretty hard on the brakes down into second gear. Got to really slow the car down, releasing the brakes as you turn in. Now get onto this curb, but normally I'd want to be on the throttle before the apex, but this curb, and especially if you touch the grass a little bit here, very slippery. So just letting the car roll in, and then as you get over the curb, then picking up the throttle again, not stomping on it. Use all of the curb on exit here, but don't get into that grass. Up into second and shifting up into third for a short time. You could leave it in second. However, having the car in third, when you downshift into second, slows the car down. So I find it's really a lot easier to do this section, which is pretty tricky, having the downshift and getting onto this curb, opening this up as much as possible. It's another late apex, shifting down into second gear, little bit of brake, not a heavy brake for this one, and then picking up the throttle nice and early before the apex, and then letting the car drift out here for this curb. Watch out, this is one of these triangle curbs. If you go over onto the right hand side of it, it is going to want to pull you into that sand, so watch out for that. And then just working your way up through the gears, holding a tight line, minimize the steering input. This is going to be the big passing opportunity here. Looking for between the 4 and the 3 cone, getting on the brakes, very hard on the brakes, very hard on the brakes, down into first. You you can get onto this curb here if you get the car pointed at it, but under this heavy braking, and again you can see it's a bit of a downhill slope coming into this, any sort of steering input is going to be very disruptive, so watch out for that. And if you brake late into this one, again, we're on a downhill slope. The later you brake, the easier it is to lock up the tires, so watch out for that. So down into first, releasing the brakes as you turn in. If you are hard on the brakes, you are going to be spinning out. Getting onto this curb, getting into the sand here, not a good idea, but getting on top of this curb and gently picking up the throttle nice and early. Hit the curb on this one. Again, you can just graze the sand, that's no problem. And watch out for this in quali. If you mess up this corner, if you spin, if you get sideways, your lap is wrecked and your next one is going to be compromised. So really get this one right for quali. It's an important one. And then just minimizing the wheel input, try and straight line it as much as you can. And that is a lap here. There's no finish line. This is crazy. That's a 107.3. I think that should be pretty competitive. I've looked on YouTube. There's not a lot of info. There's not a lot of anything on the Sebring Club configuration. So it should be new for a lot of people out here, which should make things interesting. So I'll run this out at full speed. Good luck.